Hello friends, welcome to Page Chewing Comics and Manga. My name is Steve, and I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and checking out the podcast. 2023 was a tough year, but it's a year that we started the podcast, and I've been fortunate enough to find a co-host in Mike. So it's been a fun ride so far, and I hope we can continue. So if you are a long-time listener for a few months, or you're new to the podcast, my name is Steve, and I'm getting back into comics after a long hiatus. And every week I come and talk about books I've been trying, or we break down a graphic novel or a collection, kind of give our thoughts on it, and just discussions. That's what I'm big on. So this year was the first year that I went back to buying single issues. I hadn't bought them for a long time. I was more of a trade reader, and it's been fun. I found some really great series that I'm glad I give a shot to. So in this episode, I want to talk about my top 10 favorite comics from 2023. So keep in mind, this is from about half the year, because I think we started the podcast in July. So it's been less than half a year. So before I get started on my top 10, let's go ahead and give some honorable mentions, because I just had to mention these. The first one I want to mention is Click Click Boom. This is by Doug Wagner and Doug Dabbs. This one is an action-packed story that has heart. There's some really great moments in it, some great character-building moments in it. The finale left me a little cold, but otherwise it was a fantastic series. Didn't quite crack my top 10, but well worth the read. It is a fun, action-packed comic. Really fantastic artwork. Great presentation, really funny moments. Like I said, some really moments with lots of heart, and you don't get that very often, but you could just feel it radiating from this one and a few others that I'll mention here in a minute. The other honorable mention I want to give is for Red Sonja. This is by Tarun Gronbeck and Walter Giovanni. I think there's a trap with characters like Red Sonja that it's a female Conan, but I think a lot of creators, a lot of writers, a lot of artists get stuck on trying to make her an object more than a character. And that's really why I hadn't gotten into Red Sonja. I know that there's some really classic runs out there that are supposed to be fantastic. I just haven't gotten to them yet. But I generally avoided the character because I didn't know how she would be presented. I wasn't, I didn't want like a Zenoscope type of book. I wanted something that, built on her and was like a cool take on a female Conan. And this is something that really, this book really delivered for me. It made her into a complete badass. And I still think it's a little silly that she wears a chainmail bikini when it's cold or when she's battling. It just doesn't make sense. But still, I think it's a pretty good series. I think it does a great job world building the other characters, the enemies in the world, setting up the world in like a fantasy kind of style that I just think it does a good job setting up the world. And that's not easy to do, especially in a monthly comic like this, in a monthly kind of format. So kudos to that book. And the next one I want to mention is a book that, again, this one, the finale left me a little wanting more, left me a little cold. Otherwise, this would have cracked the top 10, and that is Crusader by Matt Edmonds. This one is another one that has lots of heart. It has, I believe Matt Edmonds is the artist and the writer for this one, and you could just feel that it's a passion project. And I don't know if anyone else feels that way sometimes. You can just feel like it was a lot of time and effort and thought went into it. It just felt very like you just wanted to root for this book because it just felt like it was a passion project. And I'm not sure if it was or not. That's just the vibe I had from it. So yeah, so that's three honorable mentions. I couldn't mention more, but I didn't want to get too carried away with my list. Otherwise, the list doesn't mean a whole lot if there's 25 of them. Although I could have done that too. So without any further ado, let's get into it. And this one, I tried to forget recency bias. We read a really great book. It's fresh in our minds, and we want to think it's the best, one of the best of the year. When there was other ones that were better, they're a little more farther away in the memory banks. So I tried really hard to not have a recency bias. Now I put these in order, but there's not really an order. This is just I just kind of threw numbers next to them. They're all fantastic series, but the last few were my favorites, I guess you can say. So number 10 on my list is Red Light. This is by Sarah Cho. This one I know it's only one issue, and that's the reason it's at number 10, because I couldn't put it higher because there's only one issue so far that I've read. Really great issue. It's a really thought-provoking series. I think it handles some topics that could be that you can be really heavy-handed with AI, with sexuality, with gender, with all that kind of stuff. You can be really heavy-handed with it. But I thought that this book did a really great job presenting ideas and making it thought-provoking without banging you over the head with it. That's something that's really important to me, because when I read, I want an escape. Unless I'm going into something that I know has a message in it, or I know has an agenda, that's fine. I can do that. Most of the time, I read to escape. I read to laugh or to make me think. And this book really made me think. And it did so in a really covert way. It did so in presenting it within the story. It was very smooth, and it was tackling, touchy subjects for some in a really great way. So it was one of my favorite comics single issues of the year, which is Red Light number 1. Great series. I'm hopeful that it continues. Really, really great book. The only reason it's not higher is because it's only one issue. That's the only reason. Number 9 on my list is Kill Your Darlings. This is by Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan, and Robert Quinn. This one is another book that has a lot of heart. Some really touching moments. Some moments that just like break your heart. And it's taken a turn as the series has gone farther along. It's done some really interesting things with the world that it's setting up. And you do wonder what's really happening and what's not happening. What's a result of past events or trauma that our characters have endured. I think that one is one that keeps you guessing, and you wonder what's really happening. Is this someone just escaping reality and having an experience with some other, I don't want to spoil too much, having an experience, hallucinating? Is their brain protecting them from their own pain in the real world? Or is this really happening? Is this really a fantastic, this really like epic fantasy story that's unfolding before us? Is it real? And I'm really curious to see where they go with this one. And like I said, lots and lots of heart. Now, the next one on my list is number 8, and that will be The Lonesome Hunters, The Wolf Child, Tyler Crook. I believe Tyler Crook is the artist and writer on this one as well. Again, this is one that you can feel just the passion come out of it. You can feel it on the pages. You can feel it on the words and the dialogue. This one set up a lot in a short period of time. A lot of different storylines that all make sense, that are all connected. You get the feeling like we're going to converge. And it's tough to do that, especially in a monthly format or single issues when you only have a certain amount of pages, a certain amount of panels, a certain amount of time to develop characters. I think this one does a great job. Had me really intrigued in the world and what's happening in the characters and their histories. I think it's done a fantastic job. I love the artwork. The artwork has like this gritty, grainy feel to it that really spoke to me, that really made me feel immersed in the world. That's kind of the feeling you get from this world. And there's some things being teased that I really hope pay off. And so far it's done a really fantastic job. So The Lonesome Hunters, The Wolf Child, another great book, one of my favorites of the year. The next one, this one pains me a little bit to put at number 7 because it's my favorite creative team, and that is The Ribbon Queen. This is by Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows. This duo, I'll read anything from Garth Ennis and or Jason Burrows. I just adore whatever they put together. No one does body horror like Jason Burrows does. For my money, no one does characters like Garth Ennis does. I love everything they do. And The Ribbon Queen is this mix of crime, drama, horror, and it works really, really well. And as the series has progressed, it's expanded its scope, and you've learned a lot more about the Ribbon Queen, and more about the corruption in the police department. You have these cops who are trying to do good, but they're in this world of corruption, and they're trying to play the rules of the game, in the world that they live in, and they get wrapped up in it. And there's some great dialogue in this one too. And some of the issues have some really great back and forth between some of the characters, and they kind of get put in their place. I was worried at first it'd be a little bit too heavy-handed with the message in it, but as the series has progressed, it's done a really great job on really showing opposing views, and making these characters, even some characters you shouldn't like, making them sympathetic, at least a little bit. So yeah, another great series. The last few issues, especially, like I said, the scope has really broadened, and I really like that in ways I didn't expect. The next one, I wanted to put higher on my list, but there's only 2 issues on it, which is Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. This is by Raphael Grandpa. This one, I love the exploration of Batman, especially issue 2, what they've done with Batman exploring his psyche, exploring why he does what he does. Was it even his choice to become Batman? What does it mean for someone to get dressed in a Batman outfit, go out and beat the shit out of people every night, fight criminals, go into the world, much less a normal person? This is a billionaire, whatever Bruce Wayne is. Why would someone do that? Even if they are, if they were the victim of this horrible crime when they were little, watching his parents be killed in front of him, still, why would you do that? I think there's things that are being explored here that are really fun. A different take that you don't see too often, at least I haven't, on Batman, really exploring him and what goes on behind the curtain in his brain. And so far it's been fantastic. The artwork, I love the artwork. It's so good. It reminds me a lot of Frank Quitely. I love Frank Quitely's artwork. Has like this really kind of like this blurry look to it at times. Like the lines are thick and they look like they're moving. I love that art style. And especially for Batman, it just fits Batman for some reason. I'm not sure why. Frank Quitely, another one of those artists that whenever I find a book of his, I'll buy it because I just want to stare at the artwork. But so yeah, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, fantastic series. I'm so happy to have found a Batman story that takes it a little more seriously, that explores Batman, that is more focused on what's happening behind the curtain, which is I haven't found too often, but I really love it. The next one is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This is by Patrick Horvath. This one is about a village or a town of stuffed animals, or it's like about a world. It's based in a world of this old school, like bedtime story, stuffed animals. There's like ducks and bears and pigs and these animals that are stuffed animals. And there's a serial killer who lives there. It's basically like a Dexter type of person who kills, but he only kills outside of his city, outside of where he lives. And when a killer comes to his town, he's faced with, realizing that there can only be one serial killer in this town. So now we're watching this unknown stuffed animal go around and brutally murdering people, and we're trying to figure out who it is. And we're trying to figure out why is he killing the people, or why are they killing the people they're killing. And it's just really fun to see that contrast of, it's like bedtime story. The artwork feels like an old Bernstein Bears type of thing. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, that's what it feels like. It's like this old school kind of like painterly type of feel, but it's about a serial killer, like a stuffed bear serial killer, who is just a savage. He just completely like mercilessly kills people, innocent people, and he's facing a serial killer in his backyard. So it just tickles my black heart. The next one is let's see, number 4 is Killmore. This is by Scott Bryan Wilson and Max Allen Fouche. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I think I keep saying it wrong, and I'm probably making an ass of myself. Anyway, Killmore it reminds me a lot of Seven, the film Seven, for those of you who have seen it. And the reason it does is because, well, for one, there's a bunch of killers in this town, and the city itself feels like a character. The city itself feels oppressive. The city feels like it's alive. The city has been abandoned. I don't want to spoil too much because if you haven't read it yet, but the city has almost been abandoned, and there's these people who live there, and it's this really run-down, crime-infested city. There's some cops there that are trying to hold it together. They're trying to do the best they can, but of course, they're not in the best shape either because of what they're facing. And there's serial killers just showing up in this town, and they're running around killing people, and these cops are doing their best to catch them or to keep the city safe, and also like hold on to their sanity at the same time. And I just love the artwork in this one. It's another great one. I just love the art, the characters. Like I said, the city itself feels like it's alive. It feels like it's there, like it's looking over. It feels very oppressive, like it's on your shoulder. Really, really great series. I'm not quite sure where they're going with it. I'm not sure where this is headed, but so far I've really been enjoying it. The art, the characters, I love the characters in these. It has like this black humor, and it really works. And if you notice a theme of like, me enjoying stories with killers in it, I guess guilty as charged. The next one, these last three were tough to rate. Like I said, this is not really in any order. I just threw numbers next to them. The next one is The Sacrificers. This is by Rick Remender and Max Fiumara. This one, the first issue had me hooked. The artwork is vibrant. It pops off the page. It does a lot of the storytelling, and this one is done by the artwork. It feels very cinematic. It really flows so well. It's basically kind of sort of like the Hunger Games. We have this government who overlooks these smaller villages, and the sacrificers they come and get children from the beings that live there in the villages. There are these animals. There's like pigeons and different types of animals. Come down and they take kids as sacrifices, and you discover what's happening. And you go back and forth whether it's like an award or like a reward or a punishment to be sacrificed. And you learn a few issues in what it all means. I won't spoil it, but it's just gotten better and better. And I didn't think it could. I didn't think it would get better and better, because when you start off with the bar so high with issue 1, it's hard to maintain. I think some of you have probably seen that before. You go into an issue 1 and you kind of feel like, well, this is like the best shot. Like they've taken their swing, and you kind of see a dip as the issues run along, but not so in this one. The Sacrificers has remained just stellar, fantastic. The art, the writing, everything has remained just top notch, and it is just a great, great series. I can't wait to see where they go with this. I don't know where it's going, but it's just, I'm on board. I don't care. I'm there for it. Okay, so last two. Now, last two. The next one, I tried really hard to avoid, like I said, recency bias, because I just read one of these, and that is Somna. This is by Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotay. I couldn't help but put it on this. I couldn't help but put on the list this high. It was a big issue. It was like 70 pages. It is a historical horror erotic story that, yes, it has some spice in it. It is not over the top, but it's basically The Witch and Midsommar put together, two of my favorite films. So of course I was all about it. It is, wow, I was blown away with this one. It completely blew me away. The artwork is just haunting, and the styles change as we go from what's happening in the present versus dreams or flashbacks, and just, I mean, blew me away. Yeah, I just couldn't crack the number one spot just because there's only one issue, but wow, I blown away with this one. Just so many great themes and ideas that it's playing with, and it does so in a really great way. Again, it presents ideas, and it weaves it into the story without it feeling like that the message they're trying to convey is more important. And I don't know if there is a message. It might not be a message, but that's what's great about it, is I don't know, but there are themes and ideas that are being explored without it being, oh, I know what this creative team is trying to tell me. I know what their point is. And whether I agree or not, it just, it can feel heavy-handed. And that is not the case with this one. Fantastic, fantastic book. Just wonderful. And if you are reading it, if you are going to pick it up, don't read it on public transport. You read it in the privacy of your own home when no one else is over your shoulder. You'll thank me later. And number one for the year, I think those of you who have listened to the podcast probably know what's left, and that is Swan Songs. This is by W. Maxwell Prince. There is a revolving artists revolve on or artists rotate on this one. But even though the artists rotate, the level of artistry, the level of quality has been top notch, and I don't know how that's been. I don't know how the quality stays so high with the revolving door of artists. The work that must have gone into this to pick and choose artists who can deliver at this level must be a lot of work. To not only to just find them, but to work out scheduling, to work out availability, to plan it all out, to find the right person for the right story. I mean, it blows me away what they've managed to do with this one. So kudos to W. Maxwell Prince. It is an anthology series. Every issue was a different story. There was one issue that just left me a little, it was still really good. It just wasn't the best of the week at the time. But the rest of them, oh man. Issue 2 especially, the end of a relationship, or the end of a marriage, I forget. It is about a couple. You witness their when they meet, and how they just go through life. I think all of us can relate to that in some way. Just how they meet, the path they take, the idea that everything is fleeting, time passes, people change, feelings change, nothing lasts forever. And what is really important to you today, somebody that you're really close to today, tomorrow can become a stranger, can become an enemy. And that's all very fascinating to me. Issue 1 was also very, very, very good. I mean, every issue except for the one was just, wow. Just in the last few, I mean, geez. This is the kind of book that people who tell you that comics can't deliver the kind of story that you can in a film or in TV or in a novel or in whatever other format, hand them this book or any of the books on this list, because wow, just what they're able to do with this series especially is just, I mean, like I said, the ideas, it just like pulls your heartstrings. Every issue has pulled my heartstrings in some way or another, and I have like a black dead heart. So if you're pulling my heartstrings, you're doing something right. Just fantastic, fantastic series. Swan Songs, my favorite book of the year. It is fantastic. I can't wait to have a hardcover that sits on my shelf of this series. It is so good. So good. So if you are still here, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to what I enjoyed this year and my top 10 and my honorable mentions. There's probably more I could have mentioned, but I don't want to have too many. I wanted to keep it to 10 and some honorable mentions. Thank you so much. If you're someone who listens to the podcast, I know there's not very many of you yet, but thank you so much for listening. We will be back this coming week with our picks of the week with issue 25. And we will be discussing the last 2 weeks. We took some time off for the holiday, but we'll be back to a weekly format coming up this week. So hope to see you there. In the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic new year. My 2023 was probably one of the worst years of my life. But I'm hopeful for 2024. You know, I try not to prescribe to the new year, new me thing, because I don't know, the problems you have in the previous year still are there on January 1st, but I guess it's good to be positive, right? So we'll see. Let's toast to 2024, and let's hope that things improve for all of us. If you wanted to connect with me, the best place is on our forums at pagechewing.com. Come by and check it out. I do have to approve all new users, so if you are registering, give me a little bit of time to approve your membership. I want to try to keep the trolls and the bots out. There's a ton of them out there on forums. So have patience with me, but I'll get to you. And come by and say hello and let me know if you need a hand with the forum. We have events there. We have discussions of all sorts of books. We do audio podcast recordings if you'd like to connect with us. If you want to read a book with me, let me know. We'll read a book. There's lots of books I want to get to. We'll be starting lots of books in 2024, like the Sandman, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. We're in the process of reading Berserk. I didn't include Berserk on this list because it wasn't out this year. We had a volume, I think, in November, but I wanted this to be books that were being published this year, not books that are older that I'm getting to. So anyway, thank you for listening, and we hope to see you soon. Hope to talk to you soon. I'd love to hear from you if you have anything any suggestions. I'm always ready to hear them. So hope you're all having a fantastic. Hope you had a great holiday if you're into that sort of thing, and we will see you in 2024.